Hi, I'm Nikki from Find Me Crafting. If you're looking for a quick, easy crochet project for the holidays, this one will get you right in the mood. These little ornaments are made with just 4 circles a piece. They are very easy and quick. The pattern is available for free on my website, and I'll walk you through it step by step. Come on, I'll show you how. And if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any new patterns or projects. Here's what you're going to need for supplies. You're going to need some yarn. This is a worsted weight size 4 yarn. I'm using Hobby Lobby's I Love This yarn in red and forest green. You can make an ornament that's all one color and pick whatever color you want, or you can use 2 colors, and that's what I'll be demonstrating today. I am using a C 2.75 millimeter hook. You will need a pair of scissors and a yarn needle. You will need a regular needle and some thread that matches your yarn. I'm using a 100% polyester, sort of all-purpose thread. Gold beads. I got these from Hobby Lobby. I'll have a link for some that are very similar on Amazon. I'm going to be using the 6 millimeter size. Hot glue gun and glue sticks. I like the mini glue guns because they're a little bit smaller, so you can place glue, it feels like, a little bit more accurately. Some tweezers for applying those beads so you don't burn yourself with the hot glue. Optionally, I also like to use a silicone mat for the hot gluing. This way, if I have too much glue on a bead, I can kind of rub it off on this silicone mat, and I'm not destroying anything because it'll peel right off once it's dry. I'm going to show you how to make the circles that make up the ornament. There are 4 circles in each ornament. So obviously, if you wanted to make your ornament all one color, you're going to make 4 circles in whatever color you choose. I'm going to be making 2 circles with the red and 2 with the forest green. Each circle only has 3 rows of crochet to it. And when it's done, mine measure about 2.75 inches wide. So we're going to start with a magic circle, and I'm going to chain 2 to lock that in place. And if you have any problems with magic circles, I'm going to put a link up here for a walkthrough, a slower walkthrough of how to do a magic circle. So I want to put 12 double crochets into this magic circle. So I'm going to yarn over, go underneath, pull up a loop. There's 3 loops on. Yarn over, pull through 2. I drop my yarn there. And then yarn over and pull through the remaining 2. That's 1. I want to do 11 more just like that. So yarn over, go underneath, pull up a loop, 3 loops on, yarn over under 2, yarn over under 2 more. I'm going to just repeat that till I get to my total of 12. Once you have that done, I'm going to pull on my starting tail over here. I like to hold the stitches that I just made with my right hand and kind of hold them as I close the circle. This keeps them from flipping all over and curling in on themselves. So I just want to close the circle by pulling on my starting tail, just like that. And I'm going to slip stitch under the first double crochet. I'm going to go underneath, pull the loop through that stitch and through the loop on my hook. So that's row 1. Let's work on row 2. We're going to start with a chain 2. In each of the 12 stitches, I'm going to put 2 double crochets. So I'm going to yarn over, go under this stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on, yarn over, go under 2, yarn over under 2 more. That's 1. Now in the same stitch that I just did that, I'm going to do another one. So I'm going to yarn over, go into that same stitch, pull up a loop, 3 loops on, yarn over under 2, yarn over under 2 more. So now in the next stitch, I'm going to do 2 more double crochets. And I'm going to continue that process doing 2 double crochets into each stitch all the way around. It'll be a total of 24 double crochets in this row. As you're going, because we're using a small hook, it is going to curl a little bit. That is totally okay. You can just kind of pop it back the other direction. It works for this to be a stiffer fabric once we're done, so it can hold the shape of the ornament. Once you've gotten back to the start, you're going to want to slip stitch under that first double crochet and chain 2. Now we're on the 3rd and final row of this circle. In the first stitch, we're going to do 2 double crochets. So there's 1, and in that same stitch, I'm going to do 1 more. Now in the next stitch, I'm just going to work 1 double crochet. And then I'm going to repeat that pattern. So now I'm going to do 2 in this next stitch, and in the stitch after that, just 1. So you want to repeat that pattern doing 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around. You'll have a total of 36 double crochets in row 3. Next, you need to slip stitch under that first stitch, just like we've done for the last 2 rows. And you're not going to chain because we're done with this circle. So we need to cut the yarn, and we can finish off by pulling that tail through. That is one of the 4 circles I will need to make this ornament. I wanted to show you that to close this magic circle here in the middle so that it's never going to open again, I'm going to pull on that starting tail again till it is completely closed. And I'm going to take my yarn needle and I'm going to thread this end in a circle around my magic circle area right here. I'm just going to go in a clockwise motion and I'm going to pull it tight, and this is going to secure it so that this circle never opens up again. With your finishing tail on your yarn needle, you want to go underneath this. So this is my last stitch. If I pull it apart, you can see where my last stitch is. It's right here. I'm going to tighten that. I'm going to go from the right side to the wrong side with my needle to the back, and I'm going to pull it a little bit, and that pulls that little sort of knot to the other side, and I'm going to go back under the stitch just to the right, my final stitch. And now this side looks just like the other sides. I like to go under one more and then weave the tail in on the back. Now we need to sew the circles together. So I'm going to cut myself a length of my red yarn. It doesn't need to be as long as I just made it, but I like to have extra. So I'm going to be using my yarn needle, and I'm going to sandwich my circles together with the right sides facing one another. So they're curving almost like, you can see it's like a little bowl. I'm putting the curved edges toward each other like this. And what we need to do is just sew a line right up through the middle here. So I'm going to bring my yarn up from the back. I am going to leave myself a little bit of a tail here. I'm going to knot that in just a minute. I'm going to go back down really close to where I just came up to the other side, pull it through, and I'm going to knot these 2 together to hold them in place. I just want to run a line of stitches right here as straight as I can down through the middle. So I'm just going to move a little bit farther down in my straight line here from back to front, pull it through, move a little closer to the center, go down, pull it through, and I'm going to continue that till I get to the other side of these 2 circles and they're all sewn together. Make sure you keep readjusting to make sure everything's lining up, because it tends to shift around, at least while I'm doing it, it does. Once I get to the other side, I like to do 1 stitch where I'm on one side. I'm going to come over to the other side, and it's going to wrap around the top. I'm going to pull this through, and it's going to wrap around the top, and I'm going to tighten that. So it tightens up this center area where my ornament is going to have all of the creases meet. So I've done that. I'm now going to knot this end. So with my reds sewn together, I'm going to open them up and fold them into little tacos so that you can see this is the right side of my fabric that's sticking out. And I just folded the sides together. This is one circle, and I'm folding the sides of that circle together. So I have 2 little tacos like that. And now I'm going to stack my green circles on top of that. I'm going to stack rights to right. So this is the right side of my fabric. That's what the wrong side looks like. Right side's going to go on one side, and then my other circle, right side to right side again, facing one another. Our little ice cream sandwich we have here. And now what I want to do is use my green yarn, and we want to stitch through these 2 green pieces, and we're going to go through this center area right here as we're doing it. So I'm going to line up all my edges. Everything looks really straight. I'm going to come through this first side. I'm going to go through the center of my red circles, and then through the center of my other circle. I'm going to leave a little tail so I can knot that. I'm going to go back through really close to where I just came through, back down through the seam of the red ones, And I am going to knot these two together. And you can pull this tight. You can pull all of the stitches a little bit tight because we want this seam to be fairly tight. So now I am just going to sew through all 4 layers. I'm going to sew through the middle of this one, the seam of this one, and through this other green layer. I'm going to make a nice straight line right here down through my ice cream sandwich. And you can usually find the center of your red seam because it feels like you're going through less fabric. Once you're on the other side, I'm going to do another one of those sort of knotting stitches. So I'm on this side of my fabric. I'm going to bring my needle to the other side, right at the edge, right underneath the loops of that last row. And I'm going to go across to the loops of my other green circle. I'm going to pull this through, and it's going to cinch down that top just like that, so that all of my seams right here at the top are together and as skinny as possible. Now I'm going to knot this end and weave in my tail. And I'm going to repeat that same process with my starting tail over here at the other end. What you have right now is this, which is interesting, but not as cool as it can be. So you want to take your coordinating thread, and to start, you can see each of our circles, each of our little tacos here, we are going to sew them right here in the middle. This stitch right here, we want to sew these two together. Sew your little taco together with your needle and thread. I'm going to cut myself about 12 inches of thread. I'm going to thread both of my ends through the center of my needle. I'm going to pull that through. And because I've used both ends, I have a loop down here at the other end. You're going to line up the edges of your taco, and you want to go right here, dead center. So I'm going to go through both layers, and I'm going to pull this through, but not all the way through. I want that loop to stay on this side over here. I'm going to go on the other side of that same stitch. So I went in under the right side of this stitch, and I'm coming back toward myself on the left side. So I'm going to come back through, and I'm going to run my needle through that loop and then pull it tight. That knots it so that your thread won't come back out. Now I'm going to repeat that process, going to the right side of the stitch and through and back on the left side of the stitch. I'm going to do that one more time. And as I'm doing this third pass through, I'm going to leave a loop on this side. Don't pull it through. And then I'm going to run my needle up back through that loop. And that will knot this in place. So now you can trim off your excess, and your little taco should be sewn together right here in the middle. And you want to repeat that process for the other 3 tacos. So you should have 4 little tacos sewn together in the center before you move on to the next step. We're going to begin sewing sort of the corners together. Because I'm using 2 different colors, I'm going to be matching up a red and a green each time, and then a red and a green. If I'm thinking of this as the top of my ornament, I'm going to come up here, and I want to sew these 2 sections together. I'm going to count about 4 stitches down from the top on the green and 4 stitches down from the top on the red. I'm going to sew both of them together right at that point. So 1, 2, 3, 4 down here on the red, and 1, 2, 3, 4 down on the green. And I'm going to repeat the same process I did for creating my little tacos. So now here at the top, I have these 2 sewn together. I'm going to turn it a little bit, and I'm going to repeat that process again for another red and green. So 4 down on the green, 4 down on the red, and I'm going to stitch these together just like I did the centerpiece. And I'm going to do that for all 4 of these little intersections around the top of the ornament. Once you have the tops all sewn together, it's time to flip it over, and you guessed it, sew together the bottoms. Same exact process. You're going to count 4 up on the green and 4 up on the red and stitch through those. So you're going to have 4 of those little intersections that you sew together for a total of 12 intersections that you have sewn together on the ornament. Woo! Celebrate, because you're all done attaching all the pieces. No more sewing. So it's starting to look quite cool at this point. I'm going to add my hanger on the top, the piece that you would use to hang on a tree. You can pick either end, doesn't really matter. I'm going to put my crochet hook underneath that loop made when we made this knot on the top. And you can grab whatever color yarn you want to work with. I'm going to be working with the forest green. And I'm going to pull it through, and then I'm going to chain 20. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you go back down in that same place where you attach the yarn and slip stitch right there. So you pull it through and cut off. Once you've woven in the ends of your little hanger, the body of the ornament is done. All that's left to do is add the beads. I grip the sides of the beads with my tweezers. You want to add just a little bit of glue, just kiss it with the glue. Well, that's not entirely true. You have to have enough that it'll stay, but not so much that you can see it. So there's a fine line. And you're just going to put one of these beads at every one of the intersections. Everywhere that you sewed the pieces together, you place a bead. And if you feel like you've added a little bit too much glue, which can happen, you can kind of dab it off on your silicone mat and then go in for application and just keep putting beads on until it's all blinged out. I hope you have fun whipping up a whole bunch of these ornaments to use on your tree or to attach to a present you're giving away. Happy crafting!